Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. With the launch of Season 3 Reloaded, we of course got the highly anticipated Warzone 2 Ranked mode. We've been wanting Ranked in Warzone ever since its inception back in 2020, right? All throughout Warzone 1, we were all asking for it, and now here in Warzone 2, it is finally here. And today, I wanted to give you guys a handful of quick tips to help you improve in Warzone 2 Ranked. Maybe, improve in terms of your match placement, how many kills you're getting, but overall, we're just looking to get you the most SR you can possibly get out of any given match and help you rank up through those divisions a little bit quicker. So handful of different things to break down when it comes to gameplay dynamics, how you want to approach certain things, even what weapons you want to be using. Let's start first with one thing that I find to be super underrated in Warzone 2 in general, but especially here in Ranked, it is so clutch, and that is smokes. I would highly recommend and honestly encourage you use smokes, at least one person on your squad. Even better though, multiple people using smokes on your squad as their tactical equipment. These are so clutch and so useful in multiple different situations, whether this is rotations, whether this is trying to bridge the gap in between you and an enemy position, whether it's trying to use it as cover or potential secrecy for reviving, whatever the case may be. Smokes in this game have so many uses, especially because we're so limited in movement. If you are in an area that is not cover dense, meaning there's not a bunch of windows or buildings to use, or world objects like barriers or stuff like that, you're kind of gonna be in a disadvantage in a gunfight if an enemy is in a more favorable position that does have at least some cover. We know there's so many areas on this map that are wide open, whether it's some of the sandy dunes or some of the other rotations on a hillside. There's a lot of open space, and if someone's looking at you there, you're dead to rights in a lot of cases, unless you've got smokes, which post Season 3 Reloaded now, you can no longer ping through smokes, which is huge. It's going to allow you to have even more cover there. So if you're trying to rotate through a wide open area, dropping smokes one after another, which is why it comes into play when you want more than one teammate using them or more than one person in a squad using them, you can essentially build your own cover as you rotate from point A to point B through an open area. Let's say you have a position on enemies and you're trying to get to there, but it's going to be tricky to get there without being shot at because you have a disadvantaged position. Maybe they're in a power position, they're in a choke point. Using those smokes to bridge the gap, block off their lines of sight, rotate around, get to a position where you can actually fight them that's more favorable. Smokes coming in clutch yet again. Let's say you're in any position on the map. Doesn't matter if you're in a close quarters building, if you're in the middle of a field and one of your teammates gets knocked, but you need that quick res. Dropping a smoke on them, pushing for that res now becomes much easier and more likely to succeed because those enemies are either going to have to push into the smoke, which there's a good chance you'd hear them coming if that's the case. And if they do get in, they're going to have to find you through it, which is not always the easiest thing because they can't live ping. It just gives you so many advantages in so many situations. Smokes are by far one of the best things you could be running on a setup right now. And speaking of setups, that's the next couple of tips I have for you guys. I wanted to break down 2 weapon loadouts in specific using Overkill to give you guys some solid setups that I've been using in ranked specifically that I've really been enjoying. So the first one here is the M13 and the WARZONE, and for what it's worth, you could mix and match these primaries and secondaries here, but the M13, great long range TTK, also super easy to use, very minimal recoil. The setup here, I'll throw the tuning on screen as well, consists of the AIMOT V4 optic, but with this, use whatever optic you are the most comfortable with. If it's a 3.4 times or a blue dot or whatever the case may be, always go for that. The 60 round mag, high velocity ammo to make that consistency and hit reg feel a little bit more reliable in the mid range and the long range. The Echoless Eddy suppressor going to give you some good velocity and added range, then the Echelon barrel for better control, range, velocity, all the good stuff there. This works really well as a mid to long range primary. Then for the secondary here on the WARZONE, this will be great for those close range engagements. It's got a fast TTK, also great mobility for rotating and trying to bridge the gap in between point A and point B as well. Here we're going for the 45 round mag, the TrueTac rear grip, the Atrazat stock, the Olay laser, then also the CAS 1 barrel. Once more, the tuning is on screen there if you want to go ahead and throw that up there. The second loadout here I use consists of the Hemlock, which despite the nerf is still a top tier rifle. Then I pair this with the Lockman sub, the MP5, which I would say is maybe the #1 SMG in the game right now. As far as the Hemlock goes, yet again, I use the AIMOT V4, same deal, use whatever optic you are the most comfortable with. I go for the 45 round mag, high velocity ammo, the Fielder T50 barrel, and the Harbinger suppressor. Then on the MP5 here, I go for the Falcon barrel. This will help out a lot with the movements. The 7 milliwatt laser, the 40 round mag, the TCG 10 rear grip, and then also the Recoil 56 factory stock, which is really versatile in terms of what it's giving you in an overall setup. So a couple of really solid weapons and setups to be running there for ranked that have done really well for me in my gameplay so far. By the way, as we are going through all the tips here today, quick reminder, if you guys are new to the channel, every single day I got you covered with all things going on in COD, whether it's news, updates, loadouts, tips, you name it, it's all right here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button and join us ultimately on the road to 1 million subs. And if you guys enjoyed this video, if you find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it as well. It would be seriously appreciated. Moving on, a couple more things I want to focus on when it comes to what you want to use on any specific loadout. Let's talk perks. One in specific that I feel like is so vital to any squad success, and that is High Alert. A lot of players are not running cold-blooded as it stands. Maybe in the future it gets a buff or something changes and players switch to it, in which case maybe we'll have to revisit this topic. But right now, High Alert is beyond clutch. And quite frankly, with how ranked plays, you're probably not splitting from your squad all that much. Like, you're largely playing the match together and rotating together because of how much it favors squad engagements, getting those assists, getting those team kills, right? So just having one person out of your squad with High Alert is going to allow you to get a lot of information in those certain situations when an enemy is looking at you without cold-blooded, which I find to be very often during matches. It happens multiple times. This is especially important late game if you're trying to find a power position. You'll know if someone's looking at you from said power position or which place you might need to watch as the zone is closing in because you got that High Alert ping. This is probably one of the strongest, if not the single strongest perk to be using right now in ranked play. Moving on, another thing that I think is very, very useful is a combination of at least one person with drill charges and restock. Now, yes, at the start of ranked play, there was this whole exploit where you could basically get infinite drill charges. That's not what I'm looking to promote here. Rather, just having drill charges resupplying throughout the game, but especially late game, this forces enemy teams to move. And it's better if you have, maybe 2 or all 3 people using drill charges, because you can seriously overwhelm a squad that's, in a power position or camping in a specific place that they are at by all throwing out those drill charges. But even having one person throw a couple and then having the ability to get them restocked right away, you can do this with your munitions or just by straight up running restock. Drill charges are going to force players to move, force players out of their comfort zone, and that is wildly important in trying to gain the advantage over an enemy team or even just one singular opponent. So, between the loadouts, having High Alert and having drill charges, that in general is going to set you up for success here in Warzone 2 ranked. Now, I do want to round things out with a few other gameplay specific tips here. Initially, obviously, right as the game starts, you're going to have to choose where to land, and the zones and the path is going to have a lot to do with this. You might have a few specific spots that you enjoy landing because the loot spawns, you like the buy station, layout that they have there. That's fine and dandy. Something you really want to, pay attention to, however, especially with ranked where placement is so important in gaining SR, is landing at a place with future zone pulls in mind. For the most part, you can tell where a zone is going to go. If it's covering, 2/3 of the map, chances are it's going to end deep in that 2/3 section, more towards the coast maybe, or, in a large specific area. Obviously, there's going to be some RNG, some randomness to where the zone cuts in and pulls towards the late game with the smaller zones, but for the most part, you're going to know, am I going to have to rotate all the way across Observatory Mountain or through a bunch of wide open fields or maybe through a bunch of water? You want to avoid rotations like that are going to put you at a disadvantage, or things that are going to take a long time because you don't have, vehicles right around you, whatever the case may be. So while you're not ever going to be able to, perfectly predict the zone pull and where it's going to finish, you can get a good sense of where it's going to pull. It's not too hard to predict how it's probably going to shrink for the most part. So land with those future zones in mind. You don't want to be running against the gas here with teams potentially holding you when placement is so important for gaining more SR. Then speaking of placement here, knowing those squad counts that you have to, get past to get more SR bonuses. So, of course, right away, it's going to be increments of 10 when it comes to 40 through 10 for the squad numbers. So for 40, 30, 20, and 10, every time you breach one of those thresholds, that's immediately more SRs. So say you're in a fight and it's, with 21 people left. you know for a fact if you can just stay up long enough for that number to drop down to 20 and then to 19, you're going to get more SR placement just out of that alone. And then when it comes to the final few things, it's going to be top 10. So if you're fighting and there's exactly 10 squads left, you know, hey, maybe I want to reserve some of this for just a few more seconds. I want to, you know, stay away from fighting, sort of relocate just to make sure it drops down to 9 squads left so I can get that bonus SR. And then top 5, if you're number 5, really holding out to see if you can make it to top 4, then 3, 2, 1 obviously is going to give you bonuses as well. You don't always have to push that engagement there, especially if it's one that is disadvantaged, just because you want those kills. Oftentimes you can still gain that back by just simply getting into that next placement threshold with that next SR bonus. So really be mindful of how many squads are left there, and take advantage of getting that easy SR increase just by staying alive, you know. So few things you really want to note during gameplay there that can help you out in the long run. All that being said, though, that is effectively going to wrap things up for this one. Those are a handful of Warzone 2 ranked play tips to hopefully help you increase that SR earn rate and level up a little bit faster through those divisions. If you guys enjoyed the video or if you found it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you guys are new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications to always stay up to date with all things going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.